Yo, how's it going everyone? Mikey here with a bit of a different kind of video. I'm actually going to be ranking the Smite Season 5 gods and goddesses on their release from worst to best, which are in my opinion. So basically I'm just going to be ranking them from the worst release to the best release, in my opinion, for all of the Season 5 gods. The quick little thing with Cerberus, I'm adding Cerberus to this list because he mostly impacted Season 5. He was put in at the very end of Season 4 and was mostly in Season 5. So that's where he mostly impacted. And I'm not adding King Arthur because he will be mostly impacting Season 6. But with that, we're going to head straight into the list. We're starting with the worst goddess or the worst release goddess, Hera. Now, personally, I think Hera had the worst release for a couple reasons. One being, it seemed like her release was delayed. It took a good long while for her to get into the game when they announced it and when they started really hyping it up. She was hyped up for a good, really long while and was also a highly requested goddess to be in the game. But it just seemed like it took so long, and I believe there was a delay in there to why she wasn't, because when they started naming, when the Odyssey started, it was called Hera's Odyssey, but Hera still wasn't in the game, and they'd been talking about her for a good 2 or 3 patches already. So it took a good long while for her to actually get into the game. Along with her finally getting into the game, she was actually pretty underpowered as well. She was really underwhelming. She didn't do a whole lot of damage. Her kit, while interesting, just didn't really do a whole lot. And plus, Argus, who is her ultimate, was really stupid. He went really dead brain and dumb a lot of the time. You'd want him to do something, but he wouldn't do it properly. Obviously, now she's a lot better. She's a lot stronger. She's actually a really good pick now. But on her release, she was, in my opinion, the worst release out of the Season 5 gods or goddesses. But one little side note as well, when we're doing, talk about their design. I think the design for her was actually really good, though. That's a positive note for her. I think she had a really good design. She had a regal look, and she actually displayed a regal attitude, which fit to her very well. So moving on, we're going to be going to the next god, Chernobog, who, in my opinion, had the second worst release. Or second to worst release. So basically with him, it was a long wait from the last god. Like, it was Achilles, and then it was like a good, I can't even remember, I think 4, 5, it was a good long while. It was really long time since we got a god. And then they announced we're going to be bringing him into the game. But the problem with him was his kit was really lacking. He had it wasn't a bad kit. More or less the fact it was a kit that didn't do a whole lot. It was, I'm trying to think how to say, it wasn't super inspired. A lot of people were making assumptions or not assumptions. A lot of people were comparing his abilities to other gods in the abilities in the game, and that's not entirely wrong. And I agreed with that. I'm like, I thought his kit was fine, but it wasn't really anything special. It was really lacking. Not bad, but just lacking. And he wasn't really he wasn't really strong. He wasn't really super weak, but he wasn't really strong. I wouldn't say he was in that middle part. It was just some people knew some things you could do with him pretty good, but then a lot of other things he just couldn't do a whole lot well. And with his design, I think for the design wise, personally, I think his look matches what he's supposed to be by the card art. But his in-game model itself, I think, is a little too skinny, personally. I feel like he's really slim compared to how the card art represents him, and by his lore, or by how he's defined by his lore and stuff like that. So I just think the in-game model is a little bit too slim. Not bad, but not really too good. It's a little weird in my opinion, but nonetheless, that's Chernobog. Moving on to the next one would be Pele, who Pele is in the middle ground. I feel like her release, she didn't come out too strong. She came out a little strong, but not really strong. She was a little weak in areas, but was good, but she just overall on her release felt lacking. But right now she's really good. But yeah, on her release she just felt a little bit lacking, but she wasn't really bad or anything like that. She has a cool design. I really like her design. The problem I would say with her design is if it didn't have the fire effects, it wouldn't really be anything special in my opinion. I think what makes her design work is the fire and the lava effects they gave it. The little fire on her like tassels that she has and her hair. And it's a simple design, but it's good. The fire is just what makes it work. So moving from Pele, we're going to be going to Cerberus, who I think was the next one, who had... This is where it starts going from the worst release to we're getting into good releases. Pele was like that middle ground. Cerberus had a pretty good release. You know, he came out pretty strong. He wasn't the most overpowered thing. He wasn't super broken. He was just really... He was good. He was strong. He had a pretty interesting kit. And he had a good design. You know, for just something as simple as Cerberus, who is just the guardian or the gatekeeper to hell or the underworld. He's just a three-headed dog. They gave him a really good design. You know, there's not really a whole lot to work with there of like how crazy you can get, but he had a good design. He had a good and interesting kit, and he came out pretty strong. So I'd say he had a pretty good release. Next one, going into our top 2 for one of the best releases is Achilles, who his release, he came out really strong. He had a fun kit and a unique passive with the fact that you could take the armor off, whether it leaving him with mobility and I believe power. It gave him like mobility and power, and then if you left the armor on, you'd have more tankiness towards you with like defenses or like armor and HP, I believe. So he had a fun kit too. It was aggressive. It was very action packed. You know, it was really good. You know, it was basically like Achilles was always fighting. It felt good, and he had a really good passive or a unique passive to him. He was also a really highly requested god, and his release he came out really strong. Plus his ult has an execute on it, which makes him really good too. So, but the thing with his design, it's kind of weird because, in my opinion, I think he has a basic Roman Greek warrior look to him, but it works for him because that's how he is. That's what he was supposed to look like. So he has a good design. It's a basic warrior look to him for like Roman and Greek. But he had like that elegant look because that's how Achilles was. He was pretty elegant. So his design was pretty good, and he had a really good second to best release. Now the number 1 best release in the game, in my opinion, is Baron Samedi. Baron Samedi was really fun. He had a fun and interesting kit with a unique passive with the fact he brought his Baron's Brew, where he could share it with everybody, and it worked like a multi-pot. It was actually better than a multi-pot, and it could be passed through the whole team. Everybody could use it as long as he was on your team. It was like really good. So he had a good passive. He had a really fun and interesting kit too. Like, it's really fun to play, and the god himself is just really fun. Plus on his release, he was really strong. I wouldn't say he was the most broken god, although a lot of people would say that he was. I didn't think he was the most broken god because there were other gods who were just as strong as him, in my opinion, if not stronger maybe. But he came out really strong. He was strong nonetheless. I'm not saying he wasn't. He was really good, really strong. And he also brought like something a little bit different to Smite because he had a fun personality and he was fun to play. So he had an all around like fun aura around him, and he felt good to play. He had a fun and interesting kit, and the character was just all around fun. He was really good to play. I really enjoyed him. Plus his design, again, I'm using this word a lot, I realize, with him, but that's just the presence he gives, a fun presence, an enjoyable presence. He had a fun and really good design. It matched very well with him, and it looked so good. So with that, that's going to wrap up this video for the Smite Season 5 Gods and Goddesses release, worst to best. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, if you enjoyed it, or what your opinion is on what you think the worst to best release gods were, or like what the release ranking is to you. Or let me know in the comments below, and if you liked the video or not. Hope you did enjoy it, and I will see you all later.